Good morning. My name is Monia Santini, and I am coordinating the Division on Impact on Agriculture, Forest and Ecosystem Services at the Foundation Euro-Mediterranean Center on Climate Change, CMCC. I welcome you to this webinar, the fifth one dedicated to the Koronivia Joint Work on Agriculture, which is an outcome of the Conference of Parties 23 held in Bonn in 2017. And this decision recognized, maybe for the first time, that agriculture is fundamental in the context of both adaptation to and mitigation of climate change. In particular, the paragraph 2 of the decision provides a list of initial elements on which parties and observers to the UNFCCC were invited to submit their views. In this context, the Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO and CMCC, collaborated in the last couple of years on producing a summary of this submission. Today, the webinar will address topic 2E and F on improved livestock management system and on socioeconomic and food security dimension of climate change in agriculture. The presenter will be my colleague Maria Vincenza Chiriacò, or better Cinzia, working at CMCC on topic related to the role of agriculture and forestry for climate change mitigation and adaptation. The moderator will be Martial Bernoux of the Office of Climate, Biodiversity and Environment at FAO. And Martial is coordinating the mitigation of climate change in agriculture program at FAO, and he has a strong experience on UNFCCC and UNCCD processes. And he is also collaborating with IPCC since 2002. I want to add that this webinar is also included in the events of the Festival of the Italian Alliance for Sustainable Development, the ASVIS, that was established to raise awareness on social, economic, and environmental sustainability. Before starting, I want just to add some words about the CMCC Foundation. CMCC is a research center that investigated the comprehensive system, the comprehensive Earth system ranging from climate to the impact of climate on land, on ocean, on the marine system, but also on the society and the economic aspect. We are organized in a network of offices across Italy. The head office is in Lecce. We have a new office in Caserta. Then there are offices in Sassari, Viterbo, Bologna, Venezia, and Milano. CMCC is organized in 9 research divisions that deal with the different aspects of climate science, from atmosphere, ocean, marine system, land in terms of natural and semi-natural ecosystem, and also some division related to the socioeconomic aspect of climate change, and also on advanced scientific computing that support the research on climate at CMCC. This interdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity of CMCC allow to deal with different topics, with different sector and component of the society, considering, for example, food, energy, land use, the policy, and so on. And we are also deeply involved in outreach activities, thanks to dissemination with the scientific publication, thanks to communication aspect. We organize events like conference, workshop, and also this series of webinar, and we are also involved in the education program. At the end of the webinar, there will be a Q&A session, and you can use the tab question in the GoToWebinar system that you can find on your right. And this webinar will be also recorded, and in a couple of days, it will be available on the CMCC YouTube channel. If you have any question, you can contact our staff that is managing the webinar series. And last, I want to remember that the last webinar will be on October 15, and it will deal with cities at risk, a snapshot of urban adaptation action worldwide. So I think that we can start. I give the floor to Martial Bernoux, that will introduce with more details the Koronivia Joint Work on Agriculture and the work that FAO and CMCC conducted in these couple of years. So, Martial, please, thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Monia. I will be brief because for FAO and for CMCC, the most important is really the discussion we will have all together after the presentation. So just saying that FAO is really strongly involved following the UNFCCC process in the beginning on agriculture, with that COP decision on Koronivia Joint Work on Agriculture that was started so in December 2017 and will end at the next COP. So that will be in UK next year, in end of the year. So we still have 1 year in front of us. So the COP decision listed 6 topics. And here we will address 2 of the 6 topics listed in the initial decision. But there is also 2 additional topics on land, on scaling up, that has to be also addressed in intersession workshop by the different parties. So FAO is an observer, is involved in the process with a lot of different partners, including CMCC. And with CMCC, we are doing looking at submission from parties on all observers. So just to remember that any observer accredited or not within the UNFCCC process can submit views, and there is a calendar to submit that. And we are doing a factual analysis. So we are trying to synthesize all the different documents that are quite different in shape, in template, in length, trying to find out if there is some commonalities, but we are not providing any opinion. The Koronivia team at FAO is also providing other documents trying to support the process. So we are also a knowledge provider trying to synthesize the best on updated information on the different topics. For that, internally at FAO also we are liaising and coordinating with all the different colleagues on the different topics, and I can see online that we have experts from the division that deal with livestock and the climate change interface. We have colleagues from the socioeconomic teams also that supported us on the view on the topic 2F. So this is what I want to say. Really feel free to ask the question at the end, and we try to address all the question. But without much ado, plus I will give the floor to Maria Vincenza, so Cinzia. Everyone know her as Cinzia, and she will provide, she will drive us to a summary of the summary. So please, Cinzia, the floor is you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Martial, for your introduction. And as you said, with my presentation, I will provide an overview of the views submitted by parties and observers on the 2 topics, 2E and 2F. First of all, I would like to do a brief recap on what is the Koronivia decision. It is a decision, of course, it is the number 4 CP23, and it was adopted in December 2017 during the Conference of Party 23. In its first article, the decision calls for a joint work on agriculture under the 2 subsidiary bodies, the SABSTA and SBI, taking into consideration vulnerability of agriculture to climate changes and approaches to address food security. This should be achieved through workshop and expert meeting and a collaboration with the constituted bodies under the convention. And in its Article 4, the decision also requests the two subsidiary bodies to report back on the progress and the outcomes of the work in the Conference of Party 26 that was foreseen in November 2020, but now it's been postponed to November 2021 due to the COVID pandemic and the effect that we all of us know. In its Article 2, the decision also provides a list of initial elements on which parties and observers were invited at the beginning of this joint work to submit their general view, and it was in March 2018. And in a first collaboration between FAO and CMCC, we produced an analysis of the view submitted by parties and observers, and you can see here the cover of this analysis and the link where it is possible to download the first analysis from the FAO webpage. During the Subsidiary Body Session 48 in May 2018, a 3-year Koronivia roadmap was adopted. And the roadmap foresees specific submissions on each topics from the Article 2. So we had the submission on topic 2A, on topic 2B and 2C together, 2D, 2E and F now, and we will have also a submission future possible topics and view on the progress of the Koronivia Joint Work. Each submission was then is followed by a specific workshop on that topic at the upcoming Subsidiary Body session. However, this 3-year period may not signify the end of the Koronivia Joint Work on Agriculture. In fact, many parties already expressed their expectation that the subsidiary bodies may define also a further work after 2020 or after the end of this 3-year joint work, pending also further COP decision. Where are we now? We are now in this red part of the roadmap. So the first step has been already accomplished with the submission that were received from parties and observers in October 2018. The workshop on this topic 2A was held on December 2018. And also in this case, in a collaboration between FAO and CMCC, we produced an analysis of the submissions arrived from parties and observers. And here you can see the cover and the link where it is possible to download this analysis. The second step also was already accomplished. Submission on topics 2B and 2C arrived in May 2018. The two workshops and the two topics were held in June 2019 during the Subsidiary Body Session number 50. And also in this case, we produced in collaboration between FAO and CMCC an analysis of the submissions arrived, and there is the link where it is possible to download. The third step also was already accomplished with submission arrived last September 2019 on the topic 2D. The workshop on the topic 2D was held in December 2019, and also in this case we produced an analysis of these submissions. And now we are here. So the submissions on the two topics 2E and 2F arrived on last April 2020. And the two workshops were foreseen in the Subsidiary Body Session 52 that was planned for June 2020. But due to the COVID pandemic, this Subsidiary Body Session has been now postponed to next June 2021. And so we are now waiting for the two workshops. And probably these two workshops may be held in virtual form, probably in November, this November, within the climate dialogue organized by the UNFCCC. But however, this option still needs to be confirmed and officially communicated. So we are now waiting for the two workshops on topic 2E and F. Then there will be the final step with submission future topic that should arrive in this period in September 2020, and there will be a final workshop in the Conference of Party 26. So these submissions were onto the two topics: 2E, improve the livestock management system, including agropastoral production systems, and on the topic 2F, socioeconomic and food security dimension of climate change in the agricultural sectors. We received on the UNFCCC portal, there were available 17 submissions, and we choose a cutoff date, an internal cutoff date to have enough time to do a good analysis. That was the 15 July 2020. And these 17 submissions are 10 from parties or group of parties and 7 from observer organization. One is, in particular, one is intergovernmental organization, 5 are from NGOs, and 1 is from the UN system. Today, we have 21 submissions because we have 4 submissions that arrived later than 15 July, and 2 are from parties or groups of parties, and 2 are from NGOs. Today we have 21 submissions available on the UNFCCC portal, but the analysis that I'm going to present now is related to the 17 submissions that arrived before the 15th of July 2020. So let's see in detail what party submissions expressed in the 2 topics 2A and 2F. We have in total 10 party submissions that expressed also their general view on the Koronivia Joint Work on agriculture, and in particular, the parties said that the Koronivia is an important opportunity to promote an urgent action on climate change, so to avoid in particular the risk of hunger, poverty and conflict, especially in developing countries. The Koronivia is also seen as an opportunity to share experience, opportunities and challenges to develop a common understanding, but with country-specific strategies for agriculture, livestock sector, but also for the socioeconomic aspect of rural communities. The Koronivia is also an opportunity to facilitate the implementation of the national determined contributions and the sustainable development goals, and to further investigate and monitor also the link between the spread of infection diseases such as the COVID pandemic and the pressures that humans exert on climate, environment and natural habitats. The parties provided their view on the 2 topics, and in particular, 9 out of 10 party submissions expressed their view on the topic 2E, and all the 10 submissions expressed their view on the topic 2F. Let's see in detail what parties said on the topic 2E, that is improve livestock management, including agropastoral production system. The 9 party submissions make some general consideration on this topic. These considerations are that livestock is an important source of protein. Livestock systems contribute to livelihoods and food security of vulnerable people, and livestock production is seriously affected by climate change. Therefore, substantial adaptation actions are needed. And another point is that the livestock sector is responsible for a certain amount of greenhouse gas emissions. So almost all the party submissions agreed on the fact that making livestock production more sustainable is key to foster climate change adaptation mitigation of the livestock system, and to enhance also the ecosystem services that livestock system can provide, as for example, biodiversity protection or carbon storage, in particular in soils. Parties highlighted also some needs and priority that they see as paramount to improve livestock management system. And they refer, for example, to the need to assess the impact of climate change, to promote adaptation initiative, and to refine methods to correctly estimate greenhouse gas emissions from livestock. To the need also to promote capacity building and technical assistance to farmers, in particular with the aim to foster the adoption of sustainable practices and technology. 2 out of 9 also highlighted the importance to empower consumer awareness, in particular on the key role that consumers play in adopting healthier and sustainable diet. Some parties submission also highlighted the need to develop a collaborative policy-making approach, including also an effective involvement of the most vulnerable groups to climate change, and also the importance to enhance research on sustainable innovations that can be introduced in the livestock sector, including also the possibility to explore genetic improvement and sustainable use of genetic resources. The 9 parties also highlighted some priority actionable areas, and these, for example, include the importance to promote the sustainable increase of the productivity of meat and milk, adopting sustainable practices along the entire livestock value chain. The importance also to develop a strong legal framework and an enabling institutional environment with public policies that should incentivize the consumption of livestock products coming from sustainable production systems. And also, financial mechanisms are highlighted as very important to support an effective climate action in the agricultural livestock sector. Moreover, the parties also highlighted as there is a need to apply appropriate practices to contribute to sustainable livestock production. And these practices, for example, include agroecology, agroforestry, organic farming, agropastoral and integrated system, and the restoration of degraded and low productive lands, the use of organic fertilizer, and promotion of the interaction between plants and microorganisms that can improve the absorption of nitrogen and reduce the use of chemical fertilizer. Another important practice is to apply technologies and practices that can increase animal welfare and health, improving also mitigation and adaptation to climate change. And these include, for example, modernized open stable, paddocking, and grazing rotation. Another important point is to pay in particular attention also to feed quality and efficiency, in particular with the aim to reduce methane and nitrogen emissions. And this includes, for example, the use of feed additives, the diversification of forage types, and breeding insect as a new way for livestock feeding, a new form of livestock feeding. And another important practice is also to improve agricultural and livestock waste management through, for example, the use of manure fermenting facilities with the aim to reduce methane emission and obtain also at the same time reusable resources as, for example, organic fertilizer or biogas. Let's see now what parties expressed on the topic 2F, socioeconomic and food security dimensions of climate change in the agricultural sector. In this case, all the 10 parties submission expressed their view. They did some general considerations, so almost all the parties agreed on the fact that agriculture is one of the sectors most susceptible to climate change, with several impacts that can threaten food security, as for example, decrease of productivity, loss of a product, and soil degradation. Another important consideration on which parties agreed is that climate change threatens in particular incomes and livelihoods of the most vulnerable groups, thus increasing the risk of violence and conflict at local level and contributing to the migration of millions of people. And another important point is that global food security should be addressed by applying sustainable land uses and strengthening the resilience and adaptive capacity. For example, some submission focused on the fact that to produce more food, sometimes cropland expansion is proposed as a solution, but more attention should be paid to this point because cropland expansion can contribute to land degradation and to the loss of terrestrial ecosystems. Parties also identified possible action that should be undertaken to improve socioeconomic and food security dimension. So all of them refer to the need for application of sustainable land management options that include, for example, leguminous crops, green manure crops, cover crops, zero or reduced tillage, agroecology, agroforestry, climate smart agriculture, and so on. Another action is also to increase productivity, but in a sustainable way, and increase also the efficiency of the entire food value chain. 7 out of 10 proposed also that it is important to reduce food losses and waste, as well also the carbon footprint of food products should be reduced, and promote sustainable and deforestation-free supply chains. Another action is to promote healthy and sustainable diets that has benefit, of course, for human and for the planet, and also it's important to reduce in general total greenhouse gas emission. 7 out of 10 also highlighted that it is important to promote responsible marketing concept, and this includes, for example, the use of indication and denomination of origin, sustainable production seals, food safety certification, and so on. And also, it is important to implement information systems that can deliver information, knowledge, both to rural producers and urban consumers, to allow for a better decision making, both from the demand side and the supply side. Other actions include, for example, to design and apply relevant policies and programs to promote agricultural and food system adaptation to climate change. It is important also to preserve livelihoods in rural community and empower the most vulnerable groups, in particular to reduce inequalities and strengthen global food security. Another important point that was highlighted by 5 out of 10 is to clearly define land tenure and equal access to land for the effective implementation of policy instruments to promote sustainable land use systems. Ensure access of small-scale family farmers to innovative technologies, services, capacity building, in particular to prevent loss, damages, and any negative outcomes that they can have also from the economic point of view. And another action is to encourage the institutionalized dialogues between stakeholders at all levels, including, for example, businesses, producers, consumers, land managers, and policymakers, with the aim to increase knowledge and capacity for appropriate climate change response options. Parties also highlighted as the financial resources and credit access are very important, are key in pursuing socioeconomic and food security goals under a changing climate. And this includes, for example, the increase of socioeconomic resilience of farmers through enhanced access to finance, mobilize investment, in particular in research, technology development and transfer, low carbon infrastructures, capacity building, public policies, and value chain innovative approaches. Also, enhanced payment for environmental services is proposed as a good way, a good solution, in particular to stimulate the protection of environmental services that the agricultural sector can provide, and that play a very important role in the context of climate change in particular. And another point is to foster agricultural insurance to support farmers in a context of risk, in particular under a changing climate. The parties expressed also their view on the workshops that have not yet been held due to the COVID pandemic, but that probably will be held very soon. And the two workshops on the two topics 2E and 2F are seen as an opportunity to share showcases, experience and view, to develop and share platform mechanism and analytical tool, and to support for the development or improvement of relevant public policies and guidelines, including also strengthening coordination. And the workshop is are also an opportunity to improve farmer access to financing institution, and also the workshop are a place to discuss the post-COVID pandemic, in particular how livestock system can be managed to overcome the challenges posed by this pandemic, and how socioeconomic and food security can be ensured amid the spread of pandemics. Okay, so let's see now in detail what observer submission expressed. In particular, we have in total 7 observer submissions that expressed also a general view on the Koronivia Joint Work on Agriculture that is seen as an important opportunity to discuss actions in the agricultural and livestock system with the aim to achieve positive socioeconomic and food security outcomes that include, for example, elimination of hunger, safeguarding food security and nutrition, reducing rural poverty, and make the agricultural sector more efficient and sustainable. The Coronavian is also seen as an opportunity to establish technical support, enabling policies and appropriate levels of engagement to increase the sustainability of the agricultural and livestock systems. The Koronivia is also an opportunity to facilitate the implementation of the national determined contributions and other national programs, and also of sustainable development goals. and an opportunity also to consider the impact of the COVID pandemic on how it is affecting food system, in particular for the most vulnerable communities. And another observation provided by the observer is that the COVID pandemic is delaying climate meetings and events. So many submissions highlighted that it is important to maintain momentum to step up the climate action to
Cinzia, we cannot hear you any longer. So you might fix your mic. Okay. No. It looks like a false contact. We cannot hear you. So if the mic is not working, perhaps you can try with a computer mic if you have one. Perhaps turn off your webcam. And let's see if it's a problem of bandwidth. Okay, while she's trying to fix, then just to remember, after we will have a moment for question. And when we will ask your question, please start saying that if it's addressing 2E, so you can just flag first 2E, 2F, or general. For instance, it will help us to sort out the different questions, trying to organize the discussion. So, Cinzia, you back? I can hear some noise. Good signal? Not sure. No.
Puoi provare a metterlo a un USB sotto direttamente al computer.
Ah, you can hear some, I don't know if it's you. Try to speak. No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. So please, you can follow on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No. Cinzia, it's best if you turn off your camera. It's best if you turn off your camera.
Sto provando a parlare, non mi senti, Ottavia?
I can hear you, but it's best if you turn off your camera.
Mi sentite, Ottavia? Ho cambiato tutte le possibili prese, ma non cambia nulla.
Yes, we can hear you.
I adjust noise. I guess you have a problem of headset or your mic probably. I don't know if you have a substitute. Okay, so perhaps when you are trying to fix this, so I can see that there was already a few questions. The first one was just asking what.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Now you hear me. Okay. Okay. Okay, we can try to continue. Okay.
Okay, Cinzia, it's best if you turn off the camera, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry for this inconvenience. Oh, okay, so we were speaking about the server's view, and so we have 5 out of 7 observer submissions that expressed their view on topic 2E, and all the 7 observer submissions expressed their view on the topic 2F. Okay, so let's see in detail the topic 2E, improve the livestock management system, including agropastoral production system. Observer expressed their general view, their main general consideration that include the fact that livestock sector is an important source of greenhouse gas emission and other environmental impact, in particular if they are unsustainably managed. Livestock sectors are vulnerable to the climate extreme events. A sustainable management of livestock system could help to achieve climate change adaptation mitigation, and that there is a huge diversity of livestock systems all across the world in terms of context, size, and function. Therefore, system-specific solutions to reduce vulnerability and emissions are needed. And another important point is that livestock systems play a key role for small-scale and family-level farmers in agropastoral system as support to get out of poverty and contributing also to food security and livelihoods of local community. In particular, one of the 5 submissions that expressed their view on the topic 2E, I highlighted as, for example, industrial large-scale livestock model can represent a major source of greenhouse gas emissions and other impacts, and also highlighted that this submission highlighted that consumer awareness is very important, is a key in health environmental impact on food choice for a conscious and responsible consumption of meat and livestock products. Observers also identified some needs and priority that they see as paramount to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and vulnerability of livestock system. And this include, for example, sustainable increase of livestock productivity, that paying also attention to, in particular, to some aspects such as forage quality and digestibility, animal health and well-being, and targeting genetic selection to increase efficiency and reduce the emission intensity. Another important point was the need to improve land use through sustainable grazing and controlling the expansion of feed crops to the detriment of forests, paying also attention to land tenure, land price, and illegal land use change. Also, the need to apply early warning system was highlighted by 3 observer submissions with the aim to protect crops and livestock from impacts of climate change. Another point was the need to improve energy efficiency in farms, reducing the use of fossil fuel and increasing the use of renewable energy, including, for example, also the biogas from manure that can be produced in decentralized plants for smallholder farmers and rural communities. Another point was highlighted by 2 out of 5 submissions, and is the need to reduce total greenhouse gas emission, but also the emission intensity of livestock production, and improve in general also the assessment of greenhouse gas emission across the full livestock value chain. The observers also identified some priority actionable areas, and this include, for example, the support to farmers and decision makers to address the complex farm-level challenges, in particular in developing countries, and this can be achieved, for example, through training, knowledge sharing, and transfer from research to farmer, the development of tools, technology, and demonstration pilot projects, and dialogue through intergovernmental and multi-stakeholder meetings involving in particular the most vulnerable groups such as women, youth, local communities, and indigenous people. Another priority actionable area is to incentivize private and public financial support and investment with the aim in particular to accelerate farmers' access to low carbon innovative technologies for the modernization of the livestock sector, to enhance research, in particular on alternative feed or biofuel byproduct and so on, and to build economically viable business opportunity, in particular for the rural communities, to achieve a fair income. Another point was also the importance to develop enabling context-specific policy measures with the aim to increase traceability and transparency along the entire food value chains, to have high quality and safety food products and enhance the ecosystem services that livestock system can provide, and with the aim also to strengthen market competitiveness, and for example also mechanisms such as the voluntary market of ecosystem credits can be, for example, incentivized. Let's see now in detail what observers expressed on the topic 2F. Some general consideration is that agriculture is a two-way link to climate change. From one side, agriculture is vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, and this can affect the livelihoods of rural population. But on the other hand, agriculture provides also significant benefit for adaptation mitigation, thus reducing the effect of climate change. Another important consideration is that agricultural sector fulfills the most important socioeconomic functions that include, for example, providing jobs, economic growth, well-being, and food for the global population. And another point is that sustainable conversion of the traditional agricultural sector and food system has a high potential to limit the impact of climate change on the socioeconomic and food security dimension. Also, in this case, the observers identify needs and priority that they see as paramount for the topic 2F. And this, for example, related to the needs to strengthening the resilience to climate change of farmers and rural community. And this can be achieved, for example, by collecting and analyzing, processing, monitoring climate data, by developing maps and vulnerability and climate risk, applying early warning and early actions, and planning appropriate strategies to protect livelihoods, income, and food security. Another point was the need to ensure equitable tenure rights and sustainable land use for social and environmental stability, increase sustainable productivity and efficiency of the food system by reducing in particular food loss and waste, and working toward advocacy, awareness, and appropriate policies. Another point is to promote transparency and traceability in food supply chain with appropriate trade policies that can ensure open, fair, and transparent national and international trading systems. Moreover, all the observers also highlighted that there is the need to promote a central role of the farmers, in particular in the knowledge exchange among all the value chain actors through an inclusive mechanism. And also it is important to facilitate farmers' access to the markets, and encouraging also and supporting, for example, form of associations among small producers, as for example, cooperatives and other forms. Many observers also highlight as the private and public financial support is very important to boost investment for climate action agriculture. And this is paramount to enhance socioeconomic and food security outcomes. And this can be achieved specifically, for example, by strengthening finance mechanism for delivering technical and financial assistance, in particular for developing countries' institutions, by providing incentives and credits to farmers for climate-smart initiatives, and incentivizing also public and private sector investment in technology innovation, in particular addressing the three economic dimensions of sustainability that are economic, social, and environmental dimension, in particular in food systems. And also by providing a platform on finance for a wide range of stakeholders, for example, from governments, climate funds, financial institutions, civil society, think tanks, and private sector also, to discuss and promote the mobilization of climate finance for agriculture. The observers also expressed their view on the workshops on the two topics that are seen as an important opportunity to share sustainable best practices practices for low carbon resilient food system, to promote coherent national and international policies to ensure food security and fair socioeconomic conditions, involve in a decision-making process the representative, in particular, of the most vulnerable groups, and strengthening the assistance to developing countries in the agricultural and livestock system, and prioritize also adequate climate finance mechanism and investment, in particular for sustainable production in agriculture and livestock. So thank you. I hope I was enough clear despite the technical problem related to my voice. But of course, if you have any question, answer, or if you want, I can repeat some part if you lost, please ask. Do not hesitate to ask. We have now a QA session, so you can write your question and we will try to provide an answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know it was a long presentation. We have this time two topics to cover. On one, precise livestock, even if precise with a lot of sub-different topics that can be addressed. On the socioeconomic dimension, we have seen that it's really a broader topic that can address a lot of different aspects. I have already some question in the place for the different question. Just before moving to that, I'm also answering some general question. The views are important because the Secretariat, the UNFCCC Secretariat, is using the views also to set the agenda of the discussion during the workshop. As you were mentioning, the workshop normally are in a session, a physical, taken place in a room with a real person exchanging. This time, we do not know. On the UNFCCC website, on the calendar, we can already see that there is, for November 2020, so next month, Koronivia workshop on the two topics on date to be confirmed. So it's an indication that might happen online, because certainly it will not be in presential that time. So I don't know how it will work. And just for people that are new to that process, during a workshop, normally people that attend are people that are attending the session. So it's parties, observers, and also the member or representative of the different convention bodies and financial mechanism. So now, if I move to the questions, there is quite a general question asking people are somehow surprised with the low level of number of submissions. Is it really low or not?
No, yes. At the beginning, for the first topics, indeed, we had many submissions. We reached also, for example, the number of 50 submissions for the first topics. Now, yes, in this, in particular for these two topics, we had few submissions. Probably this was due also to the fact that many countries were in lockdown during this deadline. So probably it was also very difficult for some countries on the server to organize and try to submit their views. And also another aspect is that the 6 topics from 2A to F sometimes overlap a little bit. So probably some parties and observers already expressed their view in the previous topics, and for example, some point on livestock was already included in the 2D. Probably something is already there, and also due to this COVID pandemic, to the lockdown of many countries, it was now so difficult for some of them to submit again. So yes, we have a few submissions this time. Yeah.
Okay, I'm also inviting the participant when reading the document, have a look on the map, because one submission can in fact represent a lot of different parties. In that analysis already accounted, we have seen Africa and European Union, so it's a lot of countries. On the one that we will still include in the final version. We have LDCs, so more than several tens of countries, and we have also ASEAN group, so more 10 ASEAN countries. So the number is one thing, but sometimes behind that number you have much more views expressed on the system, same for observer. So,
and also the observers sometimes are together, so they are grouped as a group of observers, some of observers in the same submission. So it's, yes, it's also, there is also this aspect.
Yeah, exactly. And there was some questions, so I will, last question, perhaps on general aspect, after perhaps we can go deeper because time is flying on topic 2E and then 2F. A general question was on the methodology. Perhaps just to remember, all those analyses are done in 1 minute.
Yeah, the analysis. So okay, so in the UNFCCC web portal, there is there are the full views submitted by a single parties or group of parties and observers. So we download from the UNFCCC web portal, and we deeply reread them and extract all the text. We use usually a database, an Excel database. So dividing the text of each single submission for the main topic that are addressed. And so we have a single database with all submission from parties, and another database with all submission from observers. And then we try to aggregate the submissions that say more or less, that express more or less the same view on one point. And so starting from this database, we draft a text trying to summarize all the views expressed by party and observer. We of course avoid to make a personal opinion. We just try to extract tests and put together the submission that says something similar or something opposite. Okay.
Okay, so it's a really factual analysis based on document published on the website. So perhaps now we can move on the topic 2E. And here I have quite a precise question, so I will read to you. I don't know if you have access. It's from a country where livestock is quite important. So more sustainable, adapted, and less carbon intensive livestock system require redesign on some level of transformation. Production system cope with the challenges, as has been highlighted by parties as observers. So the need to have a real transformational change.
Yes. The need for a change has been highlighted by many parties and submissions. Some of them, for example, said that we need a conversion of the traditional, let's say, systems. But at the same time, also some submission also say that also the recovery of traditional practices can help maybe to be more sustainable. So yes, a transformation is needed, but paying attention also on the way in which it should be transformed. One point particularly that was particularly expressed is to pay attention to, in the case of mitigation, both to the reduction of the total greenhouse gas emission, but also to the reduction of the emission intensity of the livestock products. This was a very important point when speaking about transformation livestock systems, because when you speak about, for example, the emission intensities, it means that, for example, you can produce more products, so you can divide your total input to total greenhouse gas emission by a higher number of products, and in this way you will have a lower emission intensity for that product. But you should pay attention to the fact that probably by increasing the number of production with the number of inputs used, you will probably increase total greenhouse gas emission, that are the very important part that of emissions that the atmosphere perceive. No, so So it is important in this transformation process to pay attention to not increase total greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay, so transformational change addressing in an holistic approach also.
Yeah.
No, perhaps we have only 5 minutes left. Perhaps one question I'm looking on the on 2F, just to say to all participants, we are recording the question, and we, with the team, the FAO team and CMCC, see how to address all of them in a document we can send to the participant to not leave no question not answered. There is one on the finance aspects on 2F. Was it any mention of microfinance or access to finance to smallholder?
No, if I will remember, microfinance not directly mentioned as microfinance, but all form of financial mechanism are recalled. So I believe that also microfinance is included in this aspect of financial mechanism. Also because the central role of single farmer or family farms are often recalled by many submissions. So this means that financial mechanism should act in particular toward small farmers, and so that means also microfinancial help for this kind of final user, that is the farmers, of course, that should be at the center of this process.
Okay, so no specific mention of microfinance, but all the finance mechanisms.
For what I remember, not, but probably could be, but I'm sure that is included in this kind of financial mechanism. It is recalled so many times for all the categories, so also for the farmers. So probably it is included.
Okay, and just to add to all participants that do not know submission, when submitting, people and parties or observers try to be really short in the length of their documents, so they can certainly not enter in too much detail. I'm looking at the different, there is plenty of questions. Some it's easy to answer, I can myself answer right now. French translation, all the document, the submission will be first available, the compilation summary will be first available in English, and it's translated as soon as possible in French and Spanish, but we need to have first, we are working in English as a first step. There is also a general question that is also really cross-cutting with the two topics, 2E and 2F, on data, the importance of having data, sound data at national level, I guess, for both livestock and socioeconomic dimension. Is this really recognized that there is a strong need to have a basic and primary information?
Yes, this has been highlighted by many submissions, and the importance to collect, process, monitor, and also understand data is recalled by many submissions. And this in particular for livestock systems, for greenhouse gas emission, for example, but also in the case of socioeconomic impacts. Also in this case, sometimes the submissions recall the importance to collect right data, appropriate data, to make a full understanding of the both of the livestock production in general, but also on the food system in general, and on the effect of climate on food system, but also on the availability of food for all, and all the socioeconomic outcomes that can come from the relation between climate change and food system. So data are very, very important, and many submissions recall for data collection and elaboration.
Okay, I have a really interesting observation here, and I will transform this into a question. Do you think that at the end parties and observers are aligned? Because it seems that they are proposing or sharing a lot of commonalities in their views.
Yes, yeah, they often are strongly aligned. What is in particular, of course, observers stress more on the inclusion, on an inclusive participation, on the inclusion in particular of the most vulnerable groups to climate change. So in many submissions, in particular from the observer, is reported that the inclusion of women, youth, rural community, and so on is a key point. So this is one of the main difference, that observers stress more on this aspect, but in general, parties and observer submission are well aligned, in particular on these two topics.
Okay, just remembering to all that what we have seen and presented was based on the cut-off date of 16th of July, but we will include the new submissions that have been added. So it might also change, or we might precise the number. So just for people attending. Yeah. I guess it's time really to wrap up. Just looking last time on the different question. Okay, why is the focus on livestock? No, because it was specifically one of the topics. All the topics have been addressed in the past. Just remembering on soil, on nutrient, on adaptation. So there was already some discussion on workshop. On two other topics are coming on the intersection, on the landscape, on the water management, on one on mostly on upscaling action. So I do not see, yeah, perhaps an important question. Do you include the non-accepted submission in the analysis? So perhaps I can also answer, because in fact, there is no non-accepted submission. When the process is, you have a deadline to submit your views, on basically the Secretariat receives views up to the deadline. When it's views from parties, there is a lot of flexibilities. When it's views from observers, there is perhaps less flexibilities. But on the last topic, there were, I guess, the Secretariat showed a lot of flexibilities because of the COVID situation on the postponement of all the calendar. So I guess this is what I want really to thank you, your support, CMCC support, because it's really a hard task to go through all those different documents that I will repeat, are really different. There is no template, so it's really reading with details and with a lot of attention the sentences on to find out what parties and observers are saying. All this is that work is supported by the generous contribution of Germany, by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food. So we really want to thank them. Also, it's open to a review process. So basically, we are also reaching out people that submit on the UNFCCC Secretariat to ensure their views are well represented and we are not transforming their views. So we really want, and this is really what the CMCC and FAO want, to have a factual document that supports the process. So you will not have to read all the submission. You can, if you have time, but you can concentrate in one document that also will be translated later on in French and Spanish, that might support all of you experts engaged in that process. So I want really to thank all the different participants. There were more than 100 from parties, from observers, from different places in the world. That shows that there is a real interest in that process. So I will just say that this webinar is recorded and will be available also on the CMCC webpage. So thank you, Cinzia. Thank you, CMCC. Thank you,
Thank you also to you, Martial, for your great job on this analysis, and also thanks to the people that were attending the webinar.